Hi, welcome to the Gear Garage. My name is Zach, and this is my show about whitewater things. In this episode, I'm going to show you some drone footage I took while we just did a scenario of a pinned boat as part of our Class 4 school. So this is not a real rescue, but this is something we set up to just feel what it's like to go through a rescue. We did all the stuff ahead of time about what to do and how to tie the knots, and we practiced this on land. But nothing really beats doing this in a real environment where communication is difficult, where there's sometimes leadership things, and the tension of the river, it just brings everybody's anxiety levels up. And there's just so much that you can only learn by just trying this. And so I'd highly recommend, if you want to do this, go out with your friends and set something up and practice this. You learn a lot just by doing, and the learning is the interpersonal stuff and the big picture things, not the little tiny things. You can do that on land, but there's a lot to learn. And we did this as part of our Class 4 rowing school. And I don't want to promote that school too much because that's not what the show's about. But I do want to talk about it a second as things kind of evolve here. And it's a class that we do for Class 3 boaters who want to work on Class 4 skills, which are what I call team boating. So we do this as day trips on shallow rivers, sometimes shallow, sometimes not. And there's a lot of classroom stuff. This is more of a class, a course, than anything else. And here we're doing this really cool scenario. At least I thought it was really cool. We don't always do this scenario in courses. We just had a group that we just went really fast through all the stuff we normally do and had time. And this is something I wanted to do to sort of special. So if you did a course with us, don't expect this. And for most people, I would encourage them not to take this course. Most people, if they want a class, take in a Class 3 rowing school, take it and then just take it again. This is a course designed, it's a little bit intense in terms of we cover a lot of stuff and people feel very challenged in this course, and it's not always fun either. But anyway, it's more learning and less fun. Our Class 3 school is more fun and learning. Anyway, enough of that. So here we are on this rescue, and the thing we've been teaching lately is a mnemonic I made up called thud. And there's 4 things we want to think about even before we start a rescue, with any kind of rescue, most of which we think are pins like this, which I would call equipment retrieval, and a little bit of rescue because there's people on the boat. So the first thing with thud is T, think about after. So after this comes off, what's the aftermath? Like, where's the boat going? Where are the people going? Are they stuck on the rock? Are there ropes attached to things that are dangerous? So just think about after is a good first step. Next, H is have a leader. And it's really important to put somebody in charge. Sometimes there's dueling personalities, dueling leaders, and that's just not healthy for anybody. And even when there is a leader, people do challenge them. So trying not to challenge the leader and following that leader's vision. If there's a bunch of side missions and disagreements and no, try this, no, try that, things kind of get out of control fast. So just have a leader and trust them. Next is a set upstream spotters, or at least one upstream spotter, so that other groups coming down know something's going on, especially if you have ropes in the water. As soon as you have ropes in the water, you have a responsibility to tell boaters coming down the river that you have a dangerous thing in the river. And so that's something we do. And then last is downstream safety. And downstream safety would be a boat or boaters downstream that can catch anybody who falls in, whether they're victims or rescuers, but somebody downstream. And so in this example, those boats on the left are acting as a downstream safety. You saw earlier they kind of finagled some boats over some rocks and got them there. And I'm going to say this is barely downstream safety. This is bare minimum, because if those swimmers fall out, those two people in those cataracts aren't able to just jump on their cataracts and catch up with them. If they were sitting in their boats at a moment's notice, ready to go, that would probably be adequate, but not being in the boats isn't helpful. And I don't think a throwback here is enough. If that's all you have and that's the best you can do, cool. But if those two people on the left try to throw a throwback to a swimmer, that might get them, but they might miss them. And then if you throw a throwback and miss somebody, you have a throwback that's released. You can't just take that. You guess you could throw it on the ground and boat down and get them, but catching them would be really hard. And so if they were hurt or injured or just couldn't keep swimming, those swimmers are gone in this situation. So what I'd recommend here is sending those two boats down to the bottom of this rapid. That way they become catcher's mitts for anything or anybody that comes down. And I wouldn't send just one, because if one went down there and they flipped, then they're by themselves. If it was easy, I'd send one person down. But in this case, I'd probably send both those cat boats down. The downside of having them down there is they're just going to be bored. It's just really boring. And rescues are very boring things for most people, because there's usually one or two people doing a lot of like cool stuff, like playing with gadgets and making cool stuff happen and making decisions. But almost everybody is a little bit anxious because the anxiety level is higher and they're bored. And so the two people on the left, at least they can watch and they're like, this is kind of cool. Maybe they'll throw a throwback here in a minute. When you're down below, you're just out of the situation. And so some people don't want to do rescue, so you want to try to get them to do it. But anyway, just the reality of like, that's not quite downstream safety. And there's a lot of waiting around now. And you can see, like, I'm speeding this up because there's just a lot of talking, a lot of ideas, just tons going on. So it takes a long time for something to actually happen. But just to reiterate, the thud, it's T is think about after, H is have a leader, U is upstream safety, U is upstream spotter, and D is downstream safety. So now we're going to throw a throwback. I'll let you guys guess if he makes this toss or not. You have a few seconds to place your bets if he makes it. And not quite. And I have to say, in the real world, that's almost always the case. With tensions are high, everybody watching, that first throw gets missed a lot. And so this isn't a big deal. And he knows he's taking his time. He's like, all right, cool. But we also may have time crunches. Like we may have to be somewhere. The people on the boats might be eating cold. The longer we're here, the more annoyed people get because they're trying to patiently wait for something to happen and they're watching people go really slow. And the general just annoyance and fatigue on everybody starts to set in. So in this case, he's restuffing his throw bag right there before he rethrows it. In the sake of time, I would bring another boater down with their throw bag and have them throw while the first thrower goes somewhere else and recoils. Or have the thrower send the rope to somebody safely and responsibly while they put it back in the bag and get another bag to that rope, that person on the rock. Because this amount of time that's passing, although it's only really like a minute, I think, in the real world, it's going to start frustrating people. Just all the standing around waiting, and especially the upstream spotter and the downstream safety who are now disengaged with what's going on. So he makes the second toss. He throws it a little bit upstream. If you're going to make an error, make that error because it'll float into the boat, and the boat is able to get the rope. And the beautiful thing about this situation for this scenario is the rope getting caught in the water is a serious problem now. And so now the person on the boat, while they're tying probably a figure eight on a bite at the end, they need to have a hold of that rope while they're managing it right now. Because if it falls down the water, it could get swept out of their hands. And the person on the shore holding it has to be holding it high. They have to be putting it above their head, holding on to it. So two people are now kind of focused with keeping that rope up and out of the water, which kind of removes them from doing other stuff in a lot of ways. So anyway, they're discussing right now where the rope's going to go on the boat. So now the guide on the boat, the gentleman in red, he's already tied his 2-point self-equalizing anchor. I feel like this is a rescue skill everybody should know, so rope can get attached to your boat when you get stuck. I feel like you should carry the things you need to be able to do this anchor and be able to tie it quickly and pretty efficiently. That's just an opinion. I could be wrong. But yeah, hopefully you all enjoyed this video. I just want to share some thoughts about it. I think it's a really cool video that we took with the drone to just sort of give a sense of what it's like. Again, this is a class, so there's things here that are imperfect. We did the best we could. And I want to be clear, I'm not a swiftwater rescue instructor. I'm not certified. This is just part of a course that we do, and we shared a lot of ideas. You can take or leave what I'm sharing here with a grain of salt. It's up to you. But hopefully you enjoyed it. And thanks for watching Gear Garage. I really appreciate it. Please like and subscribe. And if you have anything to add, leave comments in the comments section below. If you're like, oh, you should have done this, should have done that. Like, I'd love to see the comments. And yeah, again, thanks for watching and see you next time. Thanks.